Help me in congratulating Michael Bacon here. This solo show here in Solano, and we're really excited that he gets to share these pieces for the first time, right?
Yeah, my first time.
Michael, you want to say a few words, and then we'll open up the floor for a couple questions?
I have to say, my artwork, I don't know what I do until I get on the artboard. And I was telling somebody, to me, art and whatever I do has its own spirit. I'm just a vessel. So if I sit down there like these, it tells me what to do, if that makes sense. Like I don't say, oh, I'm gonna make a police bike. You know, it's based on when I first build it, it just starts to build itself, you know, and it like I said, I'm the vessel. It makes what it wants to make, you know. I don't have a plan and say I'm going to do this. Some I do, but some things they just happen. Yeah, they just happen. Yeah.
Thank you. You want to tell us a little bit about what the different components are? You know, we have this over here.
Where's Osite? You guys know? That's Osite. That's her mother. That's the first one I did. I wanted to.
What year, Mike?
Oh, this was a long time ago. Yeah. That's the finished piece.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling somebody, you figure this out, your computer monitor. You see your art page. I had so many different stuff around her that you don't see. So when I made her, I said, what am I going to do with all these other pieces? Okay, let me grab my sister and put some stuff on her. And I made this one. And that's my wife. So one, because I'm in the spirit. I'm in this spirit right now. So I can't just do one of them because, you know, I'll put stuff in the memory bank. You know, and I can't put all this on one. So I have to like share the art that I do, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Their clothing or
Their clothing, yeah. Because this and this might have been, you know, out of the artwork over here, and it was doing nothing. So I had to do something to utilize it, and then it just started building itself. My inspiration was Patrick Nagel. Remember Patrick Nagel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to be a Native American Patrick Nagel.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I don't know if it was Monet, but he used this technique. You see how this is blackened, but you can see the art. You can see it in your mind that it's the hairline. You can see that. You can see that here too. You don't see a line, but if you follow that arc, you can see it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. That was a friend. That's a cousin. That was a friend. Most of them are friends. I like to use their picture because it's like I'm visiting. When I'm doing artwork, I'm there with them for hours. It's like I'm visiting. You know what I mean? And like these, it's like I grow a bond with them because it's like a child. I'm watching them grow. I used to sell them, but I used to package them up. I used to get sad to see them grow. So I stopped selling them because I liked them. You know, I really did. I really like them because they're unique. You know, I've seen motorcycles done with like watch pieces, but I've never seen anything that use recycled jewelry.
Does anybody else have any questions for Michael?
Well, I asked the question about whether he played with the G.I. Joe as a kid, and you had great answers, so maybe you want to talk to the group. And then also, I was really interested in the whole chronology. It's interesting to think about how this project built.
Yes.
So.
Okay. I collected Native American items like pottery, blankets. I wasn't into G.I. Joes yet. And so I found this guy, this G.I. Joe here. He was a Native American code talker. I said, that's cool, I'm gonna put that in my collection. It actually is signed by Joe Moore Sr. He was, at that time, one of the last 20 survivors of code talkers. You guys familiar with code talkers? the Japanese used to intercept our transmissions, so they brought the Navajos in and they used the code in Japanese, like, what the heck? So, yeah. And then, when I got that, I said, oh, yeah, I should play with G.I. Joes. So, you know, I started going to Toys R Us, and they said, oh man, there's a whole shelf of them. So I started collecting them. And then there were some that were discontinued, so I went online to look for them, and I found them. Then I found the whole world. They call it 1/6 scale. They call them G.I. Joe might be a broad term, but the correct terminology is 1/6 scale action figures. So I found a whole world online, and there was like real grown men customizing and sharing it to the world. I said, this is cool. And they would have contests, and I would enter contests with men. Me and my son entered a contest at a local hobby shop, and I took a grand champion. I said, this is cool. Then my love started going. And then, but these weren't born yet. These guys weren't born yet. These are Native American seals. You can see they're dressed like your typical Native American seal or Native seal, but I added little Native American pieces in there. These were a spin-off of the New Code Talker, you know, bring them up to date. And see, these forums I went to, there was real military people in it. So if you presented an action figure like a Vietnam era, and he has World War II stuff on, they'll pick it out and say, hey man, you know. So I bought tons of books and magazines on different like Navy SEALs, the Army Rangers, Delta Force, to make sure when I presented it, you know, it was a SEAL, you know, not, you know, a mishmash of different war eras. And so I got into customizing, and then I just started collecting G.I. Joes. How did these start? My sister and I used to DJ, right? And my sister had all the outfits for, what's that group? The Village People. And she would have the guys do skits, right? And then we quit, and then she said, hey, I have that headdress, you want it? I said, sure. And I got it, and I put it on a mannequin head, and I have a display. And then I had this, the gas mask I got from this artist, leather. You know, it's kind of steampunky looking. I said, what am I going to do with this? So I put it on the mannequin, I put it, you know, just below the headdress. And I said, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I bought these ones. This was my first Apocalyptic figure. Now these were just plain, ordinary, a Native American figure, right? But they look out of place next to that thing I created with the headdress and the gas mask. So I added a gas mask on them. I said, that's kind of interesting. And then I started just adding pieces. And then I had all these ideas. And I said, you know what, I don't want to overdress them. I said, let me start another one. So I started another one, and I started putting all these pieces, and they just started building themselves. And so I just now have like an army of them. And then the story started being created. But Denise and I were talking like, what do they mean? Where are they going? What are we doing? So I told the story about, okay, invaders came to Earth, you know, they started filling the Earth and killing all the people, but they did this band of Native Americans on the reservation. You know, they forgot about us. They put us on a piece of land and they forgot about us. So they started roaming the Earth looking for resources and trying to survive. And each one has a specific task in the clan. Like that's the sniper. I don't know if you're into weaponry, but that's a sniper rifle. In like today's army, they'll use what are those drones to find the enemy? The little crow up there, she'll go out there and find the enemy, and she'll know where to point her sniper rifle. And then these are, I call the water babies. They're experts at finding water, and it's a little water stick. They got all the water bottles. But see, I added little things, because they're still kids, right? So I had a little baseball glove. He has a little basketball. He has a little Michael Jordan, his Air Jordans on, you know. So they're still kids. You know, I didn't want to overload them with weapons. So their task was to find water. And then I was telling my man here, I used to work with a Native American. I worked at Mare Island for a long time. Remember Anton? He worked, this is my buddy from Mare Island. He worked at Mare Island with me. Anton, he was a Native American, and he would take his boots off and walk the railroad tracks. And I said, I'm going to do Anton. So that's in there. Yeah. Remember he used to do that?
I never saw it.
Okay. Yeah, they used to think it was crazy because he would be like 30 feet in the air on a wood plank cutting it. And they would have to, hey, stop, you know. I don't know if that was his game to get out of the work, but it worked. Yeah, we got a job for you over here.
No, I was reading science fiction novel, it was about aliens invasion.
Yeah.
It was like computer technology.
Yeah.
And the computers took over the world, and the source of it was going back to the reservations, and the resistance started there on the reservation.
There we go. See? We're adding to the story.
Yeah.
So that's the sniper. This is oh, and then Denise asked me if I had names for him. I didn't have a name, so I named him after my uncle. That's Big Boy. Rest in peace. And you can see on the back, he has that water canister. The water is sacred to Native Americans. Water is life. Right, Jim? Yeah.
Did that weave too.
Yeah. And then this one, she has the night vision on, so anything that needs to be done in the dark, she'll take care of. And then these guys over here. My uncle, I have an uncle called Wounded Knee. He was given that name to him by Dennis Banks. You know who Dennis Banks is? He was the leader of the AIM. Yeah. And he walked across the United States and protested a few times. He was on the 500-mile spiritual runs. That's why he had the brace on. But I didn't have that in mind when I named him. So I said, okay, I'll name him Wounded Knee. Have you guys saw the movie Predator? Anybody? Arnold, what was Jesse Ventura's character? He had the minigun. And that thing is so. And I kind of like I put the shells there just to give it some more like yeah. See. Yeah. Just to give it emphasize it, like putting a exclamation point on something, because that thing would fit bullets. This one was she was in the military. That's why she got her dog, and she came back to help her people. But she has those in military training. That's what this kind of symbolizes.
Michael, there's a.
Go ahead.
The name?
Oh, this one is she was a captain in the Army, Captain Dora Triatoto. Get it? What does it mean?
So there's a documentary, Michael, about a young woman who goes into the service. She had issues as a young person. She goes to the K-9 unit.
Okay.
So this piece is not about that.
I never heard that.
I'll try to find the name.
Okay, yeah.
It's a great story where she gets separated from the
Oh,
dog.
I'd love to hear more about it.
So, quick question, are you making all the clothing and everything for these?
So some are custom. Like some of the belts you see are custom. Like his radio pack is custom. There's a lot of custom pieces.
That you're creating.
Yeah, that I'm creating.
Others are
Yes, others. There was Lone Ranger action figure Tonto. I used some of his leggings and his moccasins. Yes.
You made the smudge stick over here?
Yes, out of pieces of leather.
Right, and the gas mask as well, is that a?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she was worried about there's too many gun pointing. So I put flowers in her arm, and I put a skull in his, and I said, let me put a sage bundle in his. Yeah. It hit it? Okay, yeah.
It's beautiful.
And then, going back to this, it's a play of Dorothy and Toto. So it's Captain Dorothy and Toto. This one, I was doing research of the Native Americans. He has a Civil War outfit on. I don't know if maybe he killed, Custer and took his clothes or whatever. But if you look at, if you go to like kind of Native American, I go to Pinterest. I have a lot of what do you call them? Inspiration from Pinterest. They have some pretty good stuff. And I saw a lot of Native Americans with the Civil War attire on. Oh, this was a custom-made gun I made. I made that out of some G.I. Joe pieces and painted it. This one, Pistol Pete, you remember Pistol Pete? I know the guy who, Pistol Pete from the Mavericks, old ass. He was the first Steph Curry, Pistol Pete Maravich. I had pistols in her hand, but we took that out and we put a rose in her hand. And she was kind of, she just made it, she created it herself. I said, maybe she kind of have a Spanish heritage, because we're all related, right? So I kind of, that was the idea here. It was, I guess in the Dia de los Muertos, there's a lot of flowers and skulls. So that was a play off that. This year, when my wife passed, her spirit was a butterfly. So I found these jars. I said, how am I going to display these jars? And since I was getting into steampunk, and I was looking at steampunk weapons, I took my kids' Erg blaster from a Toy Story. and painted it. And that's how I displayed the butterflies. But check this out. I hope I glued it down. Maybe I can bust it off a little bit. Look at the target. It's a butterfly.
I want one of those.
So that's just a way of displaying butterflies. Now, how did the steampunk start? And how did the motorcycle start? So let me go back to this guy. This was the show exclusive. This was the last one I was working on. I call this one Unk for Tino on it, but Unk sounded better. He looked like an Unk, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's Uncle Tino right there. Yeah.
Tall
Yeah, and he was tall. This was a James Bond figure, the Jaws, because he was bigger than the other action. Usually they're 12 inches, but he's like 13. So I used Jaws to create him, and I customized. See, I like to be different. So everybody had guns and pistols. I created a flamethrower for him because I had to be different because I didn't want to see the same thing on people, right? So he has a flamethrower. Yeah, and I took it out of his hands for you and put it holding the spirit. Yeah, we didn't want too many gun pointing. And this guy, you see his hat? This is real famous when the fur trade was big. They used to make those hats. Some say might have been the Native Americans' downfall because they got greedy. They saw that furs were making big money. And yeah, no, but they got greedy. Yeah. Because we took what we needed, right? Mm-hmm. Now they were just butchering just to sell the furs. If you watch the movie Dirty Harry, Chief Dan George had that hat. So that's how this idea came. You know where they got the terminology, the Mad Hatter? Mercury. Yeah, they used to put mercury on them so they would rot and cure them, and the mercury would get in the brain, and it was the Mad Hatter. That's why what's that cartoon with the Mad Hatter? Yeah, that's the Mad Hatter. The mercury is just Yeah, it made it crazy.
Didn't know that.
Whoa.
And then, this guy, he was a a gun toter. A lot of his weapons I use, from hand solos. See what vendors do to make money? Let's say you got a hand solo figure in a box, $200. If you break down individual pieces, you can get that 2 belt for $30. They could triple the money just breaking it down, so that people like us. Yeah, we took the gun out of his hand. He's El Capitan. He was in the army too. El Capitan. Plus it was Spanish, kind of a Spanish name, right? That's why he had that bandana on, because he's kind of like a cholo, you know. But El Capitan is that rock formation in Yosemite. That's where we're from, the Miwoks. There's the coastal Miwoks and then we're the Yosemite region.
Central Sierra.
Yeah, there you go. And then, and this guy, this is the last one I did. This guy is actually the first one I did. But I liked his gear so much, I bought another one, and I said, let me kind of experiment with him. And that's how he turned out. He was ex-military too. Now he's come back to help his people. Yeah, but he sees moccasins in the back. Yeah, he still has his moccasins. So I try to put a little Native Americans something on him. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not trying to be accurate to what Native American people are. It's just, it just made itself, you know. And it sits at my house, and then also say, I know an artist, because you were looking for Native American artists, and they called me, and I said, I guess, you know. So here I am. And like I said, that was my aunt. I told you the story about eggs.
And we're really, really grateful to have you here, Michael. I know you're going to be here for a little bit longer. So I invite everybody to have a look around. All of these figures have a lot of detail that you can definitely point out and ask Michael about where that came from. We also have refreshments on the table over here near the entrance. So if you haven't already, please sign in and please help yourselves. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for